It's a damning thumbnail, I'll tell you that. Proof, something huge is happening in Europe. Tucker Carlson speaks with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. And the best comment, Mr. Orbán is saying the people vote, but the government does what it wants. Let's watch it.
So Germany specifically from the outside, but from an American perspective, Germany is the dominant economic player in the continent and
the giant.
It feels that way from our perspective. And so what is the German economy? What does it look like right now? How would you assess it?
Okay, the German economy is part of the European bomb because we have the single market. And the single market as such is in trouble. I'm in politics, international politics for more than 30 years. And I do remember that 30 years ago, the biggest economy of the world was the European Union.
Yeah.
And now it's only number 3. And if you look at the top 5 economies of the world, there is no European among them. So the European Union, economically, it's not a success story. And the success of European Union will always strongly link to the success of German economy. And now they are suffering and we are suffering.
Tucker Carlson sits down with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán for a raw and unfiltered discussion about Europe's economic decline, the collapse of democracy, and the consequences of mass migration. Orbán warns that the European Union, once the world's largest economic power, is now fading, crippled by misguided leadership, a self-inflicted energy crisis, and an elite class that refuses to listen to its people. Has the West lost its way? Can Europe course correct before it's too late? Carlson and Orbán break down what comes next in this eye-opening conversation.
And the reason is very simple. There was a quite well-functioning structural model of the German economy and the European economy. That was cheap Russian energy and well-advanced European technology come together and we are competitive. But now after the war, we isolated ourselves from the cheap energy and there is no new strategy, how we could be competitive. So we have a lost...
Yeah, it's one of those things where they just took a decision without even thinking, without even considering the consequences. Well, maybe they did, but then they didn't care, I guess.
Strategy, but we don't have a new one. There's no replacement for the old one. So now the problem is that we don't have compass where we should move. So we are just managing the daily work, but there is no real strategy. What is the future of the European economy? No answer of that.
Yeah, I have to comment on this. Open up your mind a bit, okay? Just a moment. If the war in Ukraine happened because Putin didn't want NATO to advance eastward, and it was still doing it, would you then say that NATO in itself and whoever supporting it, perhaps the US, the European Union, whatever, is then the issue here? We would have never had this problem, perhaps, just saying, and Germany would still potentially be doing better. Was it already failing beforehand? Probably a little bit, but maybe not as much. Maybe it wouldn't have happened as fast, I guess, or more time to fix it. Because every country is sending a bunch of money to Ukraine for more people to die, right? That's it. So that's the thought. Then the question is, who the heck is so adamant on getting NATO to expand eastward? Why? Why when there was agreement not to do it? Why? Sometimes you need to ask these higher level questions to realize that sometimes these things just don't happen by accident. For something to be so chaotic all of a sudden when there was an easy solution for it in the beginning, you must wonder, the cliche question is always, who's making the money, right? And there's a lot of people making the money, and that includes BlackRock, with a lot of companies like, Palantir, General Dynamics, and I think even Boeing in terms of defense contracting for Ukraine. And then when Ukraine basically eventually needs to be rebuilt, you have other companies that now own a lot of the wheat fields, for example, like Monsanto. I know there's another or two other ones. RFK has a great speech on this. But you ask yourself, like, wow, okay, this country has been completely pillaged, right? Just so trillions of dollars and control of wheat fields, which supplies a lot of Europe, is now under the control of a single entity. And then you have to ask, okay, if it's BlackRock, perhaps, well, who owns BlackRock? And there's a whole thing about that. And it's just, these things aren't shallow like, for example, this one politician created it. No. It's always people in the shadows. Always.
That's the reason why China, United States, because President Trump is back, obviously is in a far better position than we are. Lack of leadership, lack of ideas, lack of visions. That's why we suffer. We are living in, under a liberal dictatorship intellectually, but politically it's still, we are living in democracies. So public opinion counts. And I think now we have a problem of democracy because of the migration. It's not just a problem of migration, problem of democracy. Because if you have an elite which is not ready to accept the obvious public will of your voters, instead of accepting that, forcing against the population their own crazy ideas, it raised the problem of democracy.
Right.
Because, so that's where we are, because now there's a quite strong shift in the mindset of the Western societies. Previously, at the beginning of the mass migration period, I'm speaking about 2015, 2016, there were half and half of the societies, even probably more than half, was in favor of doing something good in favor of those who were considered as refugees. Then slowly but surely turned to be that they are not refugees, basically.
This is crazy. Look. This is Europe. Well, at least it says that. This is... Never in my life would I think to see this in Europe. That's crazy.
They're changing their place. There are some of them refugees, but basically the majority of them would like to get a better life, simply.
Yeah, I agree as well. So a lot of people are like, but they're asylum seekers and stuff. It's like, the hell no. That's probably a small percentage considering. A lot of people just see an opportunity to leave wherever they're from, to go to a richer country, like a European country, and have opportunity. I don't blame them for that sense. And I know that the vast majority of immigrants are actually good people who want to contribute, or I would say so. But there are because of how many have been brought in so quickly, there's a large enough percentage that is creating a destabilization in that area, right? That's a problem.
And they are organized by smugglers. It's an international black business, so it's an awful business. So, public order is dispersing. So now the society is against the mass migration policy. So Willkommenkultur, as it was called by Angela Merkel, now it's totally negative. And the problem is that the elite was so much committed to that ideology that now it's difficult to change their position. And that leads us to the problem of democracy. As we will see in Germany just soon, election is coming 2 weeks' time. So, and you probably have realized that there were some surprising discussion in the German parliament whether to change the migration regulation or not. And the public opinion said, 70% said, yes, you should change it. And they voted against it. So it's a problem of democracy. It's not just a problem of migration. It's not a problem of leadership. The whole structure and the system is under pressure.
Sometimes I have this sense that if you follow, majority of the time, if you just follow what the people want, the country will do better than some idiot sitting in the top there, not really even living the daily life of a citizen.
At this moment.
The word democracy has been changed. Its meaning has been changed in the United States to mean whatever the people in charge want is democracy, but you're referring to it by its traditional meaning, which means what the majority wants, correct?
Yes, but at the same time, don't forget that democracy is a word we use too much, probably too often without understanding exactly what does it mean. There are many theories, as you know, but the most relevant one is the Greek origin of the understanding of democracy. They said that democracy means two things at the same time. Participation of the people, involvement, but the involvement of the people must be resulted in good governance. If the involvement of the people, the public opinion, does not result in good governance, it's anarchy, it's not democracy. So democracy means participation of the people by their voting in the major decisions, and the outcome must be a good governance. It's one of them is lacking, it's not democracy. And now in Europe, we are heading to a position when the people has a chance to vote, but there is no chance to get good governance.
Yeah,
so
look at that. Oh, look at those buildings. Isn't that beautiful? That's Europe. How beautiful.
Moving rather towards a kind of anarchical public life in West Europe.
If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up
I will.
and share your thoughts in the comments below.
Already did.
Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.
Do it. For this guy. Point of view. Let's hear some comments. 1 minute we are told AI is very soon going to make millions unemployed. Then the next minute we are told we need millions of migrants for all the jobs that are being created. I don't know, man. Everyone needs to wake up. They want to replace you. They don't care about you. Yeah, the question is again, who? If the will of the majority does not result in good governance, you do not have democracy. You have chaos. It's a good one, man. Good point. Absolutely. It's so crazy, man. 70. Imagine, like, okay, maybe if it was 50%, there could be some discussion there. But 70% or more telling you immigration is an issue right now, and you still vote against it. Like, what the hell? What's the point of even saying anything? JD Vance told Europe a truth they didn't want to hear. I didn't hear his speech yet. I was told it, or I heard it was pretty good. Don't forget, the U.S. has its majority of its own issues as well. So, but if he told off Europe, that was probably a good thing. Wake up, Germany! You're eternally crushing yourselves. Yeah, the people want a European market, not a European Union. I 100% agree. Get rid of the European Union and just make it free to travel and trade amongst each other. We want democracy, not dictatorship. Orbán is absolutely right. Get rid of Soros. That's one of them, perhaps. I lived in Germany for 4 years in the late 80s and made many friends. All of those friends tell me if I returned, I would not recognize Germany based on mass migration. Blame it on Merkel. I'm a fan of Orbán. Always Orbán. Let's take one more. Europe is not one thing. It's a set of completely separate countries with profoundly different cultures and values. I'm from Poland and it's nothing like that stupid Europe. What a dumb comment, bro. How can you say, and it's nothing like that stupid Europe, when Poland is literally European? Whatever. So they included Norway as part of the EU in the illustration, even though we voted no 2 times. I mean, I guess you're still part of geographically part of Europe, right? That's how I see it. When I don't think about the European Union when I think about Europe, I still think about like Britain and all those things. I still think about as an entirety a space of Western culture where we are able to travel to each other, have good times, learn from each other. It really is a beautiful place of land with all these different countries. All right, this is an interesting one. Europe is not doomed. The EU is doomed. And as long as the EU exists, it will drag most of Europe down with it. The moment it is gone, we'll be able to start the healing process, but it's going to be tough. I do like this hopeful thinking. So I think I'm going to leave with this one, because I do like this thinking. If the EU itself, as in the Union, is to fail, fuck it, let it go. I don't give a shit. And then each country can have free trade and free travel between each other, hopefully. And we can work from there. And each country can take care of themselves, right? This, without being told all the time what to do, open your borders and blah, blah, blah. So this one, let's go. Are you in Europe? What's happening? Are you in Germany specifically? UK? Are you in a country where nothing's happening? Not much? I don't know, man. I went to Brussels. That place is a shithole as well. And the European Union, is there. My God, I had to add this last comment. It's a really good one. Last one, I promise. Creating a super government over the different countries in Europe was a recipe for disaster. The people of each country are proud of their individual history, heritage, language, and culture. Nobody wants to see their country dissolve into a European Union. Yes. When people just say Europe, or even the term white people over there, it's crazy to me. Very different countries. You cannot compare Spain and freaking Latvia or something, anything else. They've lost their sovereignty and now you can't even compare Denmark and Norway. They've lost their sovereignty and now their economies and future. Nobody would want that. I suspect the people of all Western democracies will at some point say enough is enough and revolt against the entire idea of a European Union, and each country will once again become a separate and individual country in full control of their laws, people, and destiny. I really hope for this, and it goes together well with this other comment, right? The EU is doomed. Let's really hope that this is the case. I really hope this.